This next exercise is called Simultaneous Contrast and relies on the idea that the same colour appears to be radically different when it's seen against a different coloured background. The starting point with this exercise is applying a colour. This is acrylic without any added water, and this is a 220 gram paper, so it doesn't cockle that much. I'm going to make a change to that colour. So it's going to be a small change initially. And as we've already identified, you might begin to think about the fact that certain pigments have certain strengths. So sometimes a very, very small amount of one colour mixed with another can have a big impact. It might be initially you use two brushes, one to apply the colour and one to add a new colour to it. You're trying to learn to control the colour mixing. So it's important that at this stage you're not making massive leaps from one colour to the next, but you're learning the idea of just how much colour do you need. So it's better to start with a little bit too less than too much. Now as you start to colour mix, what you might realise is that increasingly you need to add more of the second colour to have an impact. When you're mixing these colours up, try to make sure that you put the colours next to each other. Now you're going to have some colour on the end of your brush, so it's not a bad idea to clean off some of the excess from your paintbrush. I'm going to mix up another colour chart down here. So again, it doesn't really matter what colour you use, but it's always a good idea to start with a reasonable amount. If you have a very, very small amount of colour to begin with, then as soon as you start to add a new pigment to that, you're going to make quite a big change to it. Also, you're going to run out of that colour quite quickly. So I'm going to start here, make a change to this. And again, you can clean off the excess colour from your brush. Now, if you apply the colour without adding much added water, and you apply it quite thinly, then most of those colours that we've just painted are dry. I might just clean a bit more excess colour off over here. Now when we mix up our first series of colours, it doesn't really matter whether those colours are opaque or transparent. The key thing is that we're learning kind of more controlled colour mixing. For the next instalment, we need to make sure that whatever colour we put on top is an opaque colour. So to that extent, we must make sure that our colour has titanium white mixed with it. So as I've already said, this is a simultaneous contrast exercise. So simultaneous contrast, remember, is where the same colour on a different colour background appears to change. So what I'm going to do is I've mixed up this colour now, and I'm going to put a dollop of that against these bars of colour. Now I'm going to make a change to this dollop of colour. And now make another change. Again, learning that control of colour mixing. You get a kind of rhythm of how you apply the colour. And again, you can clean off the excess colour from your brush. It's always good fun to find out what colours you get when you start to play around with your palette. I'm going to start this process again on these series of backgrounds. And again, one will clean one's brush. Now it's my feeling that colour really comes alive when you have a relationship of three. So usually when you paint your first series of strips, the colour's not that interesting. When you paint your dollop over the top, it gets a little bit more interesting. But when you combine that then with a third colour combination, then the whole thing starts to become quite magical. So we've taken a colour from here to here. We've taken another colour from here to here. We want to make sure that when we apply our new colour, we're applying it to another simultaneous contrast. If I place this dollop of colour against these dollops, that's going to stay the same. Whereas if I place it against these, then I'm going to get another simultaneous contrast. So once again, I'm going to make a change to that colour. And it is really important that you make sure that you've got the consistency of the colour correct, because if the colour is too watery, then you're not going to get a simultaneous contrast. And again, you can clean off the excess colour from your brush. Sometimes the surprising element of these colour tests can yield really exciting colour possibilities, things that you would never have predicted or planned in the first instance. We all have kind of habits of working with colour, so it's really useful to break out of those habits. Sometimes it's quite nice to start off with the colour that you just finished with. That's of course if you've got enough of that. It can also be quite good fun to start playing around with those colours that are left on the palette. You'll find that you tend to leave the colours on your palette that you don't often use. So finishing at the end of the day by utilising those colours can often yield exciting results. Again, the whole point is to force oneself out of your habit of using always the same palette of colour. And again, cleaning off the excess colour can yield surprises. So that's simultaneous contrast.